Hi, everyone. Jeff Lee here, Program Director of TMASF Connects. I'll once again be joined by Jen Pollard, our Chief Operating Officer, and Shirley Lin, our Marketing Associate. Today, we are continuing our series of informational interviews with Dale Roberts, founder of Centarus. As a disclaimer, please note that Centarus is a partner and the IT team of TMASF Connects. We are continuing our series on cybersecurity and the topic of the cloud. We do have facts available online, and notes for some of the terms used today will be available at the end of the video as well. Continuing on, Dale, do most IT providers or data management companies offer access to a cloud server?
Hey, Jeff, yeah, most of them do. And to elaborate on that a little bit, it really comes down to, first you want to distinguish what type of access you may need and what it is you're doing. So for example, some people may just have a basic need or a very elaborate need on creating a development environment. So they may look at, Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure and look for a way to look for solutions in creating that. Maybe it's just having kind of a cloud repository for their website or their database, which may in turn need to connect to another location or cloud using APIs, application programming interfaces. Or it may be a cloud need for virtual desktops. Maybe a small office wants to set up a server and VDIs, virtual desktop infrastructures to connect to that server, all in a secure location where they can run QuickBooks or maybe some type of billing software or something of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure, you bet.
So Dale, what if I have two cloud storage with different servers like Google Drive and Microsoft Cloud? Will I need to delete information off them individually, or do they sync together?
Yeah, good question. Usually, most providers are going to want to keep their data separate. But back to that previous example, sometimes it is advantageous, though, to allow particular type of access. So, for example, let's say you're trying to create a database for compiling the lead information for a prospect database or something of that nature, and you want to connect to another solution that can LinkedIn or some of these other Zoom.info or something of that nature to bring in more information or to synchronize information. We use a PSA tool called ConnectWise, which is our database. So it really depends on what it is you're trying to do and what your end goal is. So to answer your question, there are two separate repositories, and you usually need to manage them in that regard. So if you're cleaning up one, you've got to do so by going in there, deleting those files, creating kind of a management structure around that separately than the other. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure, you bet.
So we're talking about kind of having multiple Google or cloud storages right now. One thing we kind of heard about was a public and a private cloud. So I'm curious to see, what is the difference between a public cloud and a private cloud?
Good question. So in generally, a private cloud is a solution where you can create an infrastructure, you can create a design or a framework with more control. So you can have your own co-location facility, which may just be your own servers. You can create a VPN, you can create a data repository, you can even create your own domain network environment where it's very locked down, where there's a security, use Active Directory perhaps. You may have two-factor authentication set up with your virtual private network and how you connect to it. Whereas a public cloud, so that can be a kind of a manual build, so to speak, private cloud. Whereas a public cloud, you're generally going to use a provider like Google as an example. Amazon is another huge example for a public cloud. Microsoft is really growing Azure solutions, and where the infrastructure there is built out. There's a ton of redundancies, many more options with backup, with other APIs you can use, with other providers you can kind of use in tandem with that.
Okay. Thank you, Dale.
You bet.
Okay, so Dale, my question's more about if I use the cloud and my device, if I delete something off of my device, does it automatically delete it off the cloud, and vice versa? If I delete it off the cloud, is it automatically off my device?
Gotcha.
And then the big K one is, what if I do delete it off the cloud? How do I get my info back, or can I?
Yeah, no, these are great questions. So the answer is it depends, mostly on how often your data is synchronizing.
Okay.
So it's if you're taking photos, for example, and you want to be able to synchronize that to your cloud repository. And my example, I have a Droid phone, and I synchronize my photos with Google Photos. So, however, I've configured it to only synchronize using Wi-Fi as opposed to data. Mostly because of the fact that it's much more faster to sync over Wi-Fi. So if I went and take a bunch of photos, or I went and took a bunch of photos, and unfortunately may have lost my phone, that period of time where I've taken the photos and I haven't synchronized, that data is not going to be on the cloud. It's only going to be as up to date as the last sync.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
So is that the same thing in terms about deletion? If I haven't synced yet, I could still technically get my photos because they haven't
Correct.
synced.
That's right. That's right. And also to elaborate on your other part of your question, most cloud repositories will have a 15 to 30 day data retention by default. There are some other ones out there that have a much longer retention period. So even though you delete it from the deleted items, or you empty your trash, you can go back with some providers as far as 6 months to delete back.
Okay.
Yeah. So it really comes down to that need and thinking it through, back to kind of the planning and thinking about your data, how large it may be, how often it needs to sync, where it resides, and also back to the previous question about the security around all of that. Is it public? Is it in a location that's safe and secure?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's exactly the answer that we wanted to hear, Dale. One of the things I noticed as an iPhone user is that now when I delete photos, there's a separate folder for recently deleted, and kind of retains that information, that all those photos, for about 30 days before it actually gets rid of it. So it's good to hear. It's good to hear.
Yep.
And I know we can talk on and on about the cloud, but wrapping up on the topic for now, is there one takeaway that we didn't cover that you would like our audience to know about?
I think the biggest takeaway that comes to mind is to have a plan, have a disaster recovery plan with your own data, with your work information, and worst case scenario, if there is a breach, what's that look like? What are the ramifications around that? Personally and in business, and for your clients, is there a process I need to follow? Even if it's a checklist, a brief checklist, create that. Have your IT company create that. Keep it updated. I would say at least visit it once a year at minimum. There's a lot of regulation that's flying around these days. So we're in a very litigious society. So it's important to have the right plan, keep it updated, and share it with your IT support company.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for your time today, Dale.
You bet.
We hope everyone finds these videos helpful. For more information, please visit our website and see our fact sheets at tmasfconnects.org. If you want more information on IT solutions, please reach out to Centarus at centarus.co. Okay. Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye.